As you're watching this video, thousands of women over 60 are watching their hair thin with every passing day, seeing more strands on their pillow each morning, noticing their scalp showing through in ways it never did before, and they're being told by well-meaning people that this is just what happens when you age, that there's nothing you can really do about it, and that you should just accept it and move on. But what if I told you that for many women experiencing this heartbreaking hair loss, the real problem isn't aging at all? What if the solution is sitting right there in your body, hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered? What if 3 specific vitamins could actually turn this around? Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me your age and where you're watching from, because I want to build a community of women who refuse to accept that thinning hair is just their fate. I need you to understand something crucial right from the start. When you see more hair in your brush than on your head, when you avoid certain hairstyles because they expose your thinning crown, when you find yourself constantly adjusting your part to hide those widening gaps, your body is screaming at you that something is missing. Think of your hair follicles like tiny gardens on your scalp. Just like a garden needs specific nutrients to grow strong, healthy plants, your hair follicles need specific vitamins to produce thick, strong hair. Without these nutrients, the garden starts to wither. The plants become weak and sparse, and eventually some of them just stop growing altogether. Here's what most people don't realize. After 60, your body goes through massive changes that make it incredibly difficult to absorb and use these critical vitamins properly. Your digestive system slows down, your stomach produces less acid, which means you can't break down food and extract nutrients the way you did at 40 or 50. Hormonal shifts during and after menopause create a perfect storm that depletes these vitamins faster than ever before. So even if you think you're eating a healthy diet, your body might be starving for the exact nutrients your hair desperately needs. I've talked to women who described watching their ponytail shrink from thick and full to barely thicker than a pencil over just 2 or 3 years. One woman told me she used to have hair so thick she needed extra large hair ties, and by age 63 she could wrap a regular rubber band around her ponytail twice. Another described how she stopped going to her regular hairdresser because she couldn't bear the look on the stylist's face when she saw how much had been lost since the last appointment. These aren't just cosmetic concerns. For most women, this hair loss chips away at confidence, makes them feel older than they are, and honestly, it makes them feel invisible in a society that already tends to overlook older women. But here's where things get interesting, and this is where hope enters the picture. Medical research has shown that when certain vitamin deficiencies are identified and corrected, many women see their hair loss slow down dramatically and in some cases even reverse. Now, I'm not saying you're going to wake up with the same hair you had at 25. That's not realistic, and I won't insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise, but what I am saying, based on what doctors see in clinical practice and what women report when they address these deficiencies properly, is that you can often restore significant thickness, reduce the shedding that terrifies you every morning, and get back hair that makes you feel like yourself again. So let's talk about the 3 vitamins that matter most. I'm presenting these in countdown style, starting at number 3 and building up to the most critical one, the one that could be the missing piece that explains everything you've been experiencing. And I promise you, by the time we get to number 1, you're going to understand why this particular vitamin is absolutely foundational to everything else. Coming in at number 3, we have iron. Now you might be thinking, wait, iron isn't technically a vitamin, it's a mineral, and you're right. But it's so critically important for hair growth that we absolutely have to discuss it. Here's what iron does in your body. Iron is responsible for helping your red blood cells carry oxygen throughout your entire system. Think of iron like the delivery trucks that bring oxygen and nutrients to every single hair follicle on your scalp. Without enough iron, those delivery trucks can't do their job. Your hair follicles literally suffocate. They can't get the oxygen they need to support the intense metabolic activity required to grow hair. What this really means is that when you're low in iron, your body makes a choice. It takes whatever iron you do have and sends it to your vital organs, your heart, your lungs, your brain, the things you absolutely need to stay alive. Your hair follicles are not on that priority list, so they get shut down. The medical term for this is telogen effluvium, which is just a fancy way of saying your hair stops growing and starts falling out in greater numbers than normal. Here's what's especially tricky about iron deficiency in women over 60. You might not feel obviously sick. You might just feel more tired than usual, maybe a bit more forgetful. Perhaps you notice you're getting winded going upstairs that never bothered you before. But you write it off as aging. Meanwhile, your hair is thinning because your body simply doesn't have enough iron to support hair growth on top of everything else it needs to do. Many American women are walking around with iron levels that are technically in the low normal range, which means their doctor might say the numbers are fine, but they're not optimal for hair growth. One woman shared how she spent 2 years trying different shampoos, scalp treatments, and expensive salon procedures for her thinning hair. Her doctor had checked her iron levels and said they were normal. But when she finally saw a specialist who understood hair loss, that doctor looked at her iron levels and said, yes, they're in the normal range, but they're at the very bottom of normal. And for healthy hair growth, you need to be in the middle to upper end of that range. She started taking an iron supplement with vitamin C to help absorption. And within 4 months, she noticed the shedding had decreased noticeably. By 6 months, she could see new baby hairs growing around her hairline. Now here's the important part about iron supplementation. You cannot just start taking high doses of iron without knowing your actual levels. Too much iron is dangerous and can cause serious health problems. So before you do anything, you need to get your iron levels tested. Specifically your ferritin levels, which measure your iron storage. Work with your doctor to find the right dose if supplementation is needed, but also focus on iron-rich foods, lean red meat, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, and dark leafy greens. Pair these foods with vitamin C rich, like citrus fruits or bell peppers, because vitamin C dramatically improves iron absorption. The realistic timeline here is about 3 to 6 months before you see meaningful improvement. Hair growth is slow by nature. Each hair goes through a growth cycle that takes months, so you need patience. But I know what you're thinking. What if iron isn't the only issue? You're absolutely right to think that, because for most women over 60, it's not just one thing, which brings us to number 2. And this is where things get really interesting, because this next vitamin affects not just your hair, but your energy, your mood, and your overall sense of well-being. At number 2, we have vitamin D, and I'm putting this higher on the list than iron because vitamin D deficiency is absolutely rampant in women over 60, especially in northern climates or for women who spend most of their time indoors. Medical research has found that low vitamin D levels are strongly associated with hair loss, and here's why. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in creating new hair follicles and stimulating the follicles you already have. Without adequate vitamin D, your existing follicles go dormant. They just stop doing their job. Think of vitamin D as the wake up call your hair follicles need every morning. It's like the alarm clock that tells them it's time to start growing. Without that signal, they hit the snooze button and never really get going. What makes this especially problematic is that as you age, your skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. Your kidneys also become less efficient at converting vitamin D into its active form that your body can actually use. So even if you're spending time outside, you might still be deficient. The symptoms of vitamin D deficiency can be subtle. You might feel more achy than usual. Maybe your bones hurt a bit. You might feel more down or depressed, especially in winter months. Your energy might be low, and your hair might be thinning, especially that diffuse thinning all over your scalp rather than in one specific spot. Many women report that their hair just feels thinner overall, less dense. less full when they style it. I've heard from women who had vitamin D levels that were severely low, down in the teens or 20s, when optimal levels for hair health should be between 50 and 80. One woman described how she'd been to multiple doctors about her hair loss and her chronic fatigue. Finally, one doctor ran a complete vitamin panel and discovered her vitamin D was at 17. She started taking vitamin D3 supplements at the dose her doctor recommended, about 4,000 to 5,000 international units daily, and she made a point of getting outside for at least 20 minutes a day when weather permitted. Within 3 months, she noticed she had more energy. By 5 months, she realized she wasn't seeing as much hair in the shower drain, and by 8 months, her hairdresser commented that her hair looked thicker. Here's what you need to know about vitamin D supplementation. Most people need more than the standard recommendation you see on basic multivitamins. The recommended daily allowance is way too low for optimal health, especially for hair. You want to aim for getting your blood levels tested and working with your doctor to get them into that optimal range. Vitamin D3 is the form you want, not D2. Take it with a meal that contains some fat because vitamin D is fat soluble, which means it needs fat to be absorbed properly. But here's the critical thing about vitamin D that connects to our number one vitamin. Vitamin D doesn't work alone in your body. It needs other nutrients to be effective. It's part of a complex system. And this is where most people get stuck. They supplement one thing. Maybe they take vitamin D or iron, and they don't understand why they're not seeing the dramatic results they hoped for. That's because they're missing the foundation. The one nutrient that ties everything together and makes all the other nutrients work properly. And here we are. This is it. This is the big one. The number one vitamin that is absolutely critical for hair growth after 60. And when this one is deficient, nothing else works the way it should. We're talking about the B vitamin complex, and specifically vitamin B12. Now stay with me here because this is more important than you might realize. And most doctors don't emphasize this enough when they're talking to older women about hair loss. Vitamin B12 is essential for red blood cell formation, just like iron. Remember how I said iron helps deliver oxygen to your hair follicles? Well, B12 is needed to create those delivery trucks in the first place. But B12 does something else that's even more critical for your hair. It's absolutely essential for DNA synthesis and cell division. What this really means is that B12 is required for your hair follicles to create new cells and grow new hair strands. Without adequate B12, cell division slows down dramatically, and your hair follicles simply cannot produce hair at the rate they should. Here's where things get serious for women over 60. After about age 50 to 60, your body's ability to absorb B12 from food drops off dramatically. This happens because your stomach produces less intrinsic factor, which is a special protein needed to absorb B12. Even if you're eating plenty of B12-rich foods like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, your body might not be extracting and using that B12. You could be eating perfectly and still becoming severely deficient. The symptoms of B12 deficiency go far beyond your hair. You might feel exhausted all the time. Your brain might feel foggy. You might have trouble concentrating or remembering things. You might feel tingling in your hands and feet. You might notice mood changes, depression, or anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere. And yes, your hair will thin. Women often describe a diffuse thinning all over the scalp. The hair might also become more brittle and prone to breaking, but here's what makes B12 deficiency so devastating and why I'm calling it the number one critical vitamin. When you're low in B12, the iron you're taking doesn't work as well. The vitamin D you're taking doesn't work as well. B12 is like the conductor of an orchestra. All the other instruments, all the other vitamins and minerals can be present, but without the conductor, they don't play together properly. The music falls apart, your body's systems fall apart, and your hair suffers as a result. I've talked to women who spent years and hundreds or even thousands of dollars trying to fix their hair loss, trying supplements, special shampoos, treatments, procedures, and nothing worked until someone finally checked their B12 levels. One woman told me she'd been vegetarian for decades and never thought about B12 because she felt healthy otherwise. By age 62, her hair had thinned so much she could see her scalp clearly under normal lighting. Her energy was terrible. She chalked it up to getting older. Then she went to a new doctor who ran a complete blood panel and found her B12 was critically low. She started getting B12 injections monthly because her absorption was so poor that oral supplements weren't enough. Within 3 weeks, she felt like a completely different person. Her energy came back, her mind felt clearer, and slowly, over the next several months, her hair started to respond. The shedding slowed down first, which was a huge relief. Then she started seeing tiny new hairs growing in. By 10 months, her hair had regained enough thickness that she felt comfortable wearing it down again instead of always pulling it back to hide the thinning. Here's what you need to understand about B12. First, get your levels tested. You want your B12 levels to be in the upper part of the normal range, not just barely normal. Second, understand that if your levels are low, especially if they're very low, oral supplements might not be enough. You might need sublingual B12 that dissolves under your tongue, or you might need injections or nasal spray forms that bypass your digestive system entirely. Work with your doctor on this. Third, B12 works best when combined with other B vitamins, particularly folate and B6. These B vitamins work together as a team. That's why many doctors recommend a B complex supplement rather than B12 alone. The other B vitamins in the complex also support hair health in important ways. Folate helps with cell division and DNA synthesis, supporting the rapid cell division that happens in your hair follicles. Biotin, which is B7, is probably the most famous B vitamin for hair because it's involved in producing keratin, which is the protein your hair is made from. But here's the thing most people don't know. Biotin deficiency is actually pretty rare unless you have a specific genetic condition or you're eating raw egg whites regularly, which contain a protein that blocks biotin absorption. So while biotin supplements are heavily marketed for hair growth, they only help if you're actually deficient. For most people, it's the B12 and folate that make the bigger difference, especially after 60. But as helpful as these B vitamins are, they work best when you have adequate vitamin D and iron as well. Do you see how this is all connected? This is why, number one, the B vitamins and especially B12 is so critical. It's the foundation that allows everything else to work. Without it, you can supplement iron and vitamin D until you're blue in the face, and you won't get the results you're hoping for because the underlying machinery of your cells isn't functioning properly. Now let's talk about what you actually need to do with all this information, because knowing is only helpful if you take action. Here's your roadmap. First, get tested. Do not skip this step. You need to know your actual levels of iron, specifically ferritin, vitamin D, vitamin B12, and ideally folate as well. These are simple blood tests. Your doctor can order them. If your regular doctor dismisses your concerns, find a doctor who specializes in women's health or integrative medicine who will take hair loss seriously. Many women have told me they felt dismissed by doctors who said hair loss is just cosmetic or just part of aging. Find a doctor who understands that this matters to you and that it's often fixable. Second, based on your test results, work with your doctor to supplement the specific vitamins you're deficient in at the right doses. This is not the time to guess or just take whatever random hair vitamins you see at the drugstore. You need targeted supplementation based on your actual needs. If your B12 is low, you might need higher doses or special forms. If your iron is low, you need to supplement carefully at the right dose with vitamin C to aid absorption. If your vitamin D is low, you'll need adequate supplementation to get your levels up into the optimal range. Third, focus on your diet. Supplements are important, especially when you have deficiencies, but food should be your foundation. For B12, eat animal products like fish, poultry, meat, eggs, and dairy. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you absolutely must supplement B12 because there are no reliable plant sources. For iron, focus on lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, and dark leafy greens. For vitamin D, eat fatty fish like salmon, Fortified dairy or plant milks and egg yolks, though honestly it's very hard to get enough vitamin D from food alone, which is why supplementation is usually necessary. Fourth, be patient but also be persistent. You're not going to see dramatic changes in 2 weeks. Hair growth is slow. The hair growth cycle means that improvements take months to become visible. You should expect to wait at least 3 months before you see reduced shedding. New growth might take 4 to 6 months to become noticeable. Full improvement might take a year or more, but that year is going to pass anyway. You can spend it watching your hair continue to thin, or you can spend it actively working on the problem and seeing gradual improvement. I know which choice I'd make. Fifth, manage your expectations realistically. If you're 65, you're not going to have the exact same hair you had at 25. Aging does affect hair in ways that vitamins can't completely reverse. Your hair might not be quite as thick or grow quite as fast as it once did. But what you can achieve is often dramatic compared to where you are now. You can have hair that feels fuller, that looks thicker, that doesn't shed in alarming amounts, that makes you feel confident and attractive and like yourself again. That's the goal. Not perfection, but significant, meaningful improvement. Let me tie this all together for you because this is important. The number one vitamin, the B complex, and especially B12, is the foundation everything else builds on. Without adequate B12, your body cannot properly create new cells, cannot form healthy red blood cells, cannot support the rapid cell division your hair follicles need. When you add in vitamin D at number 2, you're giving your hair follicles the signal they need to wake up and start growing. When you add iron at number 3, you're providing the oxygen delivery system that keeps your follicles healthy and active. These 3 work together as a system. That's why I rank them this way. B12 is the foundation, vitamin D activates growth, and iron delivers the fuel. Together, they create the environment where your hair can thrive again. Start with getting tested. That's the first action step. Schedule an appointment and ask specifically for these tests. Then, based on your results, supplement what you're actually deficient in while improving your diet to support your hair from the inside out. Give it time. Be consistent. Take your supplements every single day. Eat well. Manage your stress because stress absolutely affects hair loss as well. Be gentle with your hair. Avoid tight hairstyles. Reduce heat styling. Use gentle products. And remember this, you deserve to feel confident at every age. You deserve to have hair that makes you feel attractive and vibrant. Don't let anyone tell you that thinning hair is just something you have to accept. For many women, it's not about aging, it's about nutrition. It's about deficiencies that can be identified and corrected. Your best years do not have to be behind you. With the right nutrients, the right approach, and the right patience, you can restore significant hair health and thickness. If you found this information valuable, hit that like button so other women can find this video. Drop a comment and let me know which of these 3 vitamins you're most concerned about, or if you've already had success addressing a deficiency, and share this with any woman in your life who's struggling with hair loss, because this information could genuinely change her life. Subscribe to this channel for more content about health, wellness, and thriving after 60. Remember, you're not just aging, you're evolving, and you deserve to do it with confidence and with a full head of hair.